Welcome to Manhattan, Kansas, the Little Apple, where they have taken a large bite out of college football. The man for whom the stadium is named, Bill Snyder, built this program from the losingest in the history of college football to a formidable foe and home of the Kansas State Wildcats. A top 25 showdown coming up, two of college football's premier teams preparing to duke it out right here on this field. As we'll see the number 19 team in the country, the Pittsburgh Panthers, taking on the 20th ranked team in the land, the Kansas State Wildcats. For EA Sports College Football, Reese Davis with you alongside David Pollack and Jesse Palmer. Time to get this game started. Kansas State about to kick off to get this game started. From inside the 10-yard line, he'll bring it back. Really disciplined job by the coverage unit to get down there and make the stop at the 19. This crowd bringing an ear-splitting welcome to their visitors. Touch pass on the jet sweep. Able to scrounge 3 yards out of that one somehow. It's 2nd and 7. This is the kind of game, a top 25 matchup in the early season that you look for when you're trying to build your resume.
Yeah, these are so fun because as a player you kind of get bored if you don't get challenged, but when you got an early season challenge like this, all the adrenaline, all the juice, Palmer, you're ready to rock and roll.
I love this. We've had this game circled for a long time because we learn a lot in these types of games. What are these teams about? Which conferences are better? You're going to get a lot of answers today. There's a lot of different ways this offense can attack you throwing the ball. One of them is getting the running back going, and the screen is a great way to get him lathered up and get the defense starting to think about him a little bit more now.
They'll get him stopped at the 45, but it's a big 15-yard pickup and a first down.
First down, you know you always want to establish the running game. How about this offense? Nothing fancy. Run the football, be physical, get a big gain.
This crowd bringing the energy and noise early. Not a whole lot of room there. 3 yards maybe, 2nd and 7.
You know, runs like this oftentimes are like a boxer in a boxing match. Obviously, it's not a knockout punch, but these are body blows. As the game goes on, these small gains are going to turn into longer runs.
Got 3 on first down. It's 2nd and 7. He's looking to throw. Safe completion on the screen. And it's pretty obvious there was a big hole in that screen, and the defense ran right through it.
And a really nice job by the defense winning 2nd down. I think the quarterback thought he could dump this off, maybe get some positive yards, set up a good 3rd down. The defense did a great job responding and getting that running back on the ground.
Here comes this home crowd as the defense tries to get off the field on 3rd down. He's going to run it. Picks up the first down and gets down to avoid contact.
Nice job. Nice way to end that play for the QB. He does a really good job scrambling, getting the first down, and getting down. Because defensively, I'm trying to get a lick. Anytime I can hit the quarterback, that is a win.
To the air on first down. Quarterback doing what he does best. He can move. Stop is made at the 22. A 10-yard pickup and a first down just outside the red zone.
He does a good job of dropping back, going through his progressions. Nothing there. What do? Go get some yards. Make it positive. Don't sit back in the pocket and force something into a bad situation or take a sack. Great job making something out of nothing.
And he was drilled just as he released the pass. It's incomplete.
Doesn't take this defense a lot of time to get to the quarterback, man. They've got speed all over the place. They hit him so quickly, and because of that, the ball falls incomplete.
And the incompletion brings up a 2nd down for this offense. He's looking to throw. The sweet feet keeping the play alive. He snares it in the end zone. Touchdown, Pitt.
Well, Well, you know this offensive coordinator scripts his opening 10, 15 plays, and he didn't even need that. They went 9 plays and scored a touchdown. Everything working perfectly. They look like a well-oiled machine early in this game offensively.
And the extra point is good, and it's 7-0. They put together an 81-yard drive, and the scoring play comes on a touchdown pass from 22 yards out. They're just about ready to kick it away. No chance for a return as that ball flies out of the back of the end zone. Looking for a productive play on first down. The give from the gun. And maybe he'll get back to the line of scrimmage, but no more than that.
It's hard to run on a defense that comes off the ball like that and runs to the football like that. Good luck. No holes anywhere.
They got nothing on the last play. It's 2nd and 10. Makes it past the marker. Finally run out of bounds, but he has this offense rolling with a first down.
You know, you start day one of training camp running your base runs. You need a few yards, you run these plays. You need a first down, you run these plays. You rep them over and over and over again. They're not sexy, they're not pretty, but in the end, they're effective, and they get you that new set of downs when you need them.
Looking downfield, it's Galladay. Trying to make magic with his feet. He turns this into a nice gain and gets down to avoid the hit.
You know, QBs want to make those big plays. They want to put up the big stats, but when nothing's there, sometimes you just tuck the ball, get a minimal gain. I like the slide, by the way, too. Get down and don't take a big hit.
They'll throw it on first down. He just got rid of that one to save the down. Didn't see anything he liked. Wonder if they'll throw it again after the incompletion. 2nd and 10 from the 49. Couldn't connect on first down. Now back to the air. That pass is incomplete, and they're probably fortunate that it wasn't knocked free for a fumble.
Well, this quarterback started taking a couple shots from the pocket. There's another one right there that affected his accuracy on that throw.
A 3rd and long coming up here. Receivers telling the quarterback what they see. On 3rd and long, he's going to have to throw for it. And this sophomore able to wreak some havoc and get the sack.
Really impressed with how this team has seized momentum here, playing on the road in this hostile environment. Their offense gets it first. They march down the field. They put up some points. And here's the defense now on their first drive, getting a critical sack on 3rd down.
Make sure that there's not going to be a return on this one. Ball's out of bounds, and I think they'll mark it right around the 25. The Pittsburgh offense is back on the field. That last drive really productive. David wound up with a touchdown. They'll try to do it again.
Yeah, so I don't expect this offense to change too much, Reese. They had a great drive. They got the touchdown. Everything working. I would expect them to keep pushing this ball downhill.
And just imagine if they could put another touchdown on the board right here. They could capture so much.
He wants to take the top off. And he's got it inside the 25. And he takes it all the way. They couldn't stop him. Touchdown, Panthers!
And what nice play design. You get your speedster, you put him in the slot, usually get a better matchup, and then what do? You fade him towards that sideline, run a go. Nice ball thrown way out wide. He just runs underneath it, and just too much speed. Couldn't catch him. Gets in the end zone for 6.
We check in with Kevin Connors. What's going on, Kevin?
Boys, if it's happening in college football, we've got eyes on it. Check this out. Michigan is trailing right now, but let's be honest. The program that turned out Tom Brady should never be counted out of any game. It's a touchdown game. They're trailing by 7 to South Carolina. We'll circle back if anything changes in this exciting college football matchup.
Oh, and how about that? I know Kevin and those guys will be keeping an eye on it for us. At the 35, he's loose. Really good job to pick up a chunk of yardage and get it out to the 39-yard line.
And that is exactly why you stick to running the football. Haven't had a lot of success, but boom, you pop one, right? That's what you got to do. You cannot become one-dimensional and just throw the football every down. Love the offense sticking to the run. Nice job getting the first down.
Fires downfield. And the pass is intercepted.
It's a good young lesson for all young receivers out there. Never jump up and down waving your hands trying to get the attention of the quarterback, because guess what? All you're doing instead is getting the attention of the defense. They're able to run over and get the INT.
Wants to throw on first down. Trying to escape and get it himself. And a 9-yard gain on first down leaves him with second and short.
That is what I'm talking about. Every defensive players want those opportunities. Quarterbacks slide so much, but you can get a big hit on them. That's exactly what you want to do. Make him feel that now so it hurts later in the game.
Fighting off the defender. Tackled after picking up the first down.
It's hard to stop great runners. It really is. That's why you run the football consistently. You got a big offensive line, a big physical unit. You run the football like this, man, it will take a toll later. But you got to tackle this guy over and over again who has this ability to make people miss and make big plays.
Well, you're making a positive out of a negative. In that time, quarterback, nice job, buying time. He's trying to throw the football downfield, nothing there. So instead of throwing it away and getting the incomplete, just get what you can get and make this next down more manageable.
The give to the running back from the shotgun. Knocked down at the 35 after a pickup of 3.
I like feeding my guy. I like getting my running back touches, feeding the ball so he can break some of those big runs. But I'm also okay with these little ones. Set the tone, stay balanced.
Decibels rising as the crowd gets behind this defense on third down. Finds his big tight end. He's out of bounds, but not before picking up enough for the first down.
Defenses throughout the week study every third down situation. You got to be ready for what they do, how they do it, and then be able to adjust. Great job by the offense so far having success.
This Pitt offense has been clicking on this drive. Looking to go up top on first down. And that one falls incomplete, trying to get a chunk play on that one.
Well, the game plan's been pretty simple offensively, right? They are taking shots, and they're being aggressive throwing it down the field. This guy's already got 2 touchdown passes. We're still in the first half. And on that last one, he was looking for number 3.
He's back to throw on second down. Lets it fly. He's got it. And they pick up the first down in what might be the last play here in the first quarter. They'd love to start this quarter off with a touchdown right here. They'll dial up the run on first and goal. They get him on the ground at the 3-yard line, but this defense is taking some punches. Looks as if we have an injury on that last play, and we'll take a break to check him out. They've got it down to the 3. Now it's second and goal. A strong tackle and wrap up from the junior.
I think it would be great if this offense leaned on the run game more in the red zone. Leaned on their back, man. Give it to him. Let him do his thing. He hadn't even gotten the end zone yet this season, so love to see him get that opportunity to maybe punch one in here.
You can't hear yourself think on third and goal. Pressure coming. And down he goes back at the 3.
We're only in the first half already. This guy's got 2 TD passes, so you could see the defensive coaching staff on the sideline telling this D-line, guys, we got to get after this guy. We have to affect his rhythm and not let him be so comfortable back there. Right there, they were able to get after him. Let's see if they can keep it up.
Fourth down and goal from the 3. Can the defense get a stop? Quick pass on the jet motion. Touchdown, Pittsburgh! And they made it to the house when they found that 6 points waiting on them.
And after starting the season 0-1, this offense felt like they just left plays on the field in that first game. But so far today, they're taking advantage. QB's making good decisions. Guys are stepping up. They've limited the mental mistakes. They haven't turned the football over. It's a different-looking offense here in Game 2.
About to kick it off after punching it in for the touchdown. Here he comes from inside his own 5. Slips through the line. He's on the loose. Wide open, and it's a foot race. He'll take it to the house. Touchdown, Wildcats! Boy, nothing electrifies a stadium quite like a return for a touchdown.
It's always so exciting because you don't see them very often. You got to go so many yards, 80, 90 yards at a time. What a great job by the returners, showing the speed, providing the electricity. There's a reason they're all jacked up, and it's because of that awesome kickoff return.
They're lining up for the kickoff, and let's see if this return team can answer with a score of its own. The Pitt offense back on the field and ready to roll. This has been exactly the way you draw things up, David. The offense has really been moving the football.
And it's been great execution. They've done exactly what they've wanted to do. Build the lead. Now Palmer's a different animal. Now you got to protect it.
You can tell they were paying attention in practice this week in the film room because they have gone out, everybody right now on the same page.
The offense will have to use its first timeout of the half. It's 1st and 10 from the 38-yard line. He's going to pass. Trying to make magic on the scramble.
Well, as soon as he got outside the pocket, the defense smelled blood in the water. Everybody started pursuing it. How about the big hit on the QB outside the pocket? At that point, he's a runner. He's not getting protected anymore. Nice job. He felt that one.
Line getting set on 2nd down. Looking for a physical attack to the gun. Creating some space, getting just enough good blocking, and they've got it up to the 47-yard line.
I think that was an example of the offensive coordinator trying to help out his quarterback. He's trying to keep these 3rd downs manageable. You know, you throw the ball on 2nd down and it's incomplete. Now you've set up 3rd and long, and now you're set up to fail.
Just shy of midfield at the 47. The defense needs a 3rd down stop. That'll get the job done and move the chains, and they'll mark the ball at the 45.
Well, the offense is in a really nice rhythm right now. It seems like no matter what they're dialing up, they're getting positive yards, and it just feels so good as a play caller when you know on 1st down you can get yards like that turning around and handing it off.
Yeah, and on the other side, you're scratching your head going, what the heck can I do here? You got to find something. The defense has got to find a way to create some momentum. Whatever they're doing right now, it's not working. So you got to keep going through that play sheet and maybe find something a little bit different and give this offense something to think about.
Now on 2nd down. He's looking to throw. Trying to get to it. It's complete on the right side. They make the stop, trying to pick up just a little bit at a time to get to that 1st down marker.
Nice patience by the quarterback here working against zone coverage. He was allowing his receiver an opportunity to find that open space in the defense before pulling the trigger.
They'll immediately call timeout.
Timeout, Pittsburgh. 1 2 3 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2
Better find the earplugs. Here comes the noise, backing this defense on third down. From the gun, wants to pass. Now improvising. Rolls it in. Ripping through the defense and getting it all the way down to the 24-yard line.
Just beautiful. And that's a great feeling as a quarterback when you make that throw. It keeps your offense on the field, keeps the offense in rhythm. Obviously not as good as throwing a touchdown pass, but I'll tell you this. Way better than having to trot off over to the bench and wait for your turn to get another shot.
And they picked up 9 on first down. It'll bring up second and short. Pitt pushing the pace. Leaves it with the back. A run up the middle is stuffed for no gain.
Stopping the run is very high on every defensive coordinator's list. Making the team one-dimensional. Nice job stuffing the run on that play right there.
This crowd knows when to bring it. Trying to pick it up on the ground. That ought to be enough to give Pitt the first down.
Man, I do not want a guy that will dance. I want square shoulders to the line of scrimmage, take the snap, secure the football, play physical, and fall forward. Nice job by that running back getting the first down.
They'll switch it up here and look to throw. Gets it out fast. Touchdown, Panthers. And they add 6 more to the board with that trip to the house.
This coaching staff was trying to identify playmakers on offense early this year. How about the start of the season this guy has had? Scored in their first game. He scored early in this one. Defenses up to this point don't have any answers for this guy.
And for a quick update, let's go to Kevin Connors in the studio.
Week in and week out, guys, you never know what's going to happen in college football. Check this out. Iowa is down big on the scoreboard, and for a program that traditionally struggles to score, I think we know where this one is headed. They're trailing by 18 to Iowa State. We promise to keep you posted on what goes down in this exciting college football matchup.
And how about that one? Kevin will be keeping an eye on everything going on elsewhere. He'll try to pop the draw. On the move at the 30. And it is a chunk play, a huge gain on that one before the defense brings it to an end.
Man, this guy's a playmaker, and he does not need a lot of space. Really nice job that time letting the pass rush get upfield, so when he got the football, there was just green grass out and ahead of him, and he made the defense pay.
And when I got a guy like that, man, I just got to find ways to get him past the D-line, right? And then the draw play is
And he's running in the open. He's run out of bounds, but a big play on that one, and it'll be a first down.
Phenomenal play call by the offensive coordinator. You're calling screen passes to take advantage of a good pass rush, and that's exactly what happened. The offensive linemen, they just let those defensive ends run up the field. Quarterback did a perfect job holding on to the ball to the last possible second, getting it out to his running back, and man, that running back had a convoy out ahead of him.
first down physicality wins football games. Being able to run the football and create balance. And right here, just choose up another first down, gives you another chance to maybe continue to run the football.
And I feel like this guy, too, is just an explosive play waiting to happen. His vision, his quickness, and he's got a burst. If you give this guy just a crease, he's going to hit it. And right now, he's doing some damage on this defense.
Hit hard just as he released it on first down and just couldn't get it to the receiver.
It's hard throwing in the pocket, man. You got bodies and 300-pound dudes falling all over the place. They're trying to hit you. That time, the pressure got to him, and it forced the incompletion.
From the shotgun now, here's an inside give. Boy, they'd love to move the sticks here and take a shot at it on first and goal. On third and long, he has to throw for it. Can't make the grab as he was going for 6 right there.
Nice job by the defense. They're mixing up their look. They're third and long in field goal range. They go zone coverage, so everybody on the back end has the eye on the quarterback, and they're able to break on the ball, force the incompletion.
On 4th and 9, the offense will stay on the field. He'll try to throw and pick up the first down. And it's incomplete, a missed opportunity for the offense.
Man, aggressive play calls. Everybody wants you to be aggressive. They're aggressive. They take their shot. Now they got to live with a little bit of the consequences. They turn the football over on downs. Now their defense has to go out on the field and make some stops.
The sweet feet buy a little time. He is brought down, but man, what a job to find some running room and move the chains. Hit right back to the line. Comes out throwing on first down. He'll try to do it himself. Out across the 30 mark, down at the 35 after the 10-yard gain. The offense will quickly use a timeout.
He's got such good awareness in the pocket. He does a good job of feeling the rush, and you know it's a pass, and you want to keep your eyes downfield, but he sees an opening, and if he sees an opening, he's got the ability to go get it and get a first down.
Ball is at the 35. It's 1st and 10. He's looking to throw it. Finds his big tight end. They make the stop, but the sweet throw and catch is plenty to give them a first down. Pittsburgh going to work with a fresh set of downs. He'll come out throwing on first down. Quick completion on the out route. He will step out of bounds, but not before the big pickup and a first down for this offense.
Man, this quarterback is having himself a day. Over 200 yards in the first half. It was hard enough for Palmer to get over 200 in a game, more or less in the first half.
Here comes the hurry up. From the gun, they'll try the middle. He has an extensive juke library, and he exhausted it and still didn't pick up much. That's the end of the second quarter. That means it's time to join Kevin in our halftime update.
That's the end of the first half.
Pitt will try to boot this thing deep to start the second half. Not going to give him a chance to make a play as they boot that thing through the end zone. K-State has the ball back, and the Power Cat offense returns to the field. When you're facing a deficit like this one to start the second half, you really can't afford to waste a single possession.
Fresh start here in the second half. That's the only way you can look at this if you're on offense. Things did not go your way there in the first half. It starts with one play. To get our confidence going, we just got to get something going early here on this drive.
One play, stay aggressive. Now I think I can be even more aggressive on fourth downs because obviously I've built a deficit. My defense has got to make some plays for me too.
He's got it on the right. At midfield, he's got room. He's run out of bounds, but not before. Turning in a big pickup and moving the sticks for a first down. Here's this offense with a fresh set of downs.
Green 25.
Nice move there. Solid fundamentals on that tackle from this freshman. Got a little work done on first down, now back to the line. Quarterback reacting to what the D is showing. Dropping back, it's Galladay. Throws toward the end zone. And good coverage there to knock it away and deny the score.
Well, this passing attack was on fire last week. Quarterback threw multiple TDs, but they got brought back down to earth very quick in the first half of this game. So here they are now early in the third quarter. They're trying to get some of that mojo back, taking a shot. I like the aggressiveness.
And the defense knew exactly where that first down line was, and they stopped him short. With a double-digit deficit here in the second half, they're going to go for it on fourth down. He'll try to throw and pick up the first down. And it's incomplete. The long pass on fourth down is to no avail.
You know, offensively in that situation, fourth down, you're throwing for it. Everything has to go right, or someone just needs to be able to make a play to keep the drive alive. They couldn't get it done, and now the offense is coming off the field.
He is smashing people. He's brought down, but not before they pick up the big first down.
And listen, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, I love teams that commit to the run, and when it's successful, keep running the rock.
Yeah, David, I think this offensive line right now, they've got a lather going. They're really sort of getting in the groove and flow of this game. They're just getting tremendous push at the point of attack. It seems like every single time they decide to run the ball.
Got stuffed on first down. It's 2nd and 10. Quarterback strolling away from Heat. Hit as he throws. And he was hit just as he was releasing the pass, and it falls to the ground incomplete.
And that defender was just smothering the quarterback on that screen attempt. You know, the QB's taught to hold on to it to the last possible second. He had no shot trying to negotiate that defender.
3rd and long, and he'll try to throw for it. And the pressure gets to him. Down goes the quarterback.
Awesome job by the defense. Not only getting the fast quarterback on the ground, but understanding what he wants to do. He can take off. I got to make sure I got good pursuit angles, and I got to make sure I build rails. I can't let him outside. I got to keep him in the pocket. He tries to get outside. They get the sack and get the huge loss on that one.
They'll get him down at the 21-yard line. The coverage team able to stop him right there. And here comes the Kansas State offense back onto the field. They've got it back after that last drive stalled out, and they were stopped. Going up top. Makes the grab on the left side. And the tackle is made, but not before that completion gets them 30-plus. The Wildcats want to pick up the tempo.
What a beautiful throw and catch on this play, and I love the job the receiver did tracking the ball in the air. Nice job of locating the throw and then hauling it in.
Back to pass, it's Galladay. Takes a hit as he fires. Can't find his man as he took a shot trying to deliver that football, and it'll be 2nd down. Quarterback empties his backfield. Fast motion from the offense. He's looking for a man on 2nd down. Got rid of it quickly, but it's incomplete. This drive was clicking along, but after a couple of misfires, threatening to stall out on 3rd and 10. Looking to throw it again. Unloads to the right. Oh, what a spectacular layout and catch.
Man, that's a tough play to make. When you're that far down the field and you're trying to control your body and run as you're laying out, that's a really great effort, really good concentration, and that is how you make your quarterback look really good.
Wants to go up top. Going for 6. He makes the catch in the end zone. Touchdown, Kansas State.
The great thing about spreading a defense out, I can see where the blitz is coming from. I can see where they're weak. I can see my matchups. Nice job by the offense. Spread them out, taking advantage of their matchup, and getting in for the score.
And with the extra point, they trail by 2 touchdowns, 28-14. Let's go to the studio now and check in with Kevin Connors. Kevin, what do you got?
Boys, if it's happening in college football, we've got eyes on it. Check this out. Western Kentucky is currently trailing in this one, but it feels like the tide may be turning. These Toppers have picked themselves up before, and they're capable of it again today. It's still a one-score game. They're trailing by 8 to Ohio. We'll circle back. If anything big happens, you should know about it.
Thanks for the update on that one, Kevin. Let us know when it goes final. Pocket starts to collapse. Hit hard as he released the ball on that first down pass, and it never had a chance.
This QB has been so comfortable all day long. Obviously having a ton of success. You've got to affect him. You've got to put some hits on him, those body blows, so you can make him wear out and physically feel you. This is the first time really getting to him. This defense needed this bad.
One of the things that makes this guy so dangerous is how good he is after the catch. If he's got any space around him, he's able to burst. He's able to make people miss and get extra yards for his offense. You saw it right there.
Now from the 40, it's 1st and 10. Wide receiver coming across in motion. Touch pass on the jet sweep. Pass to 45. Hit the afterburners, kid. A huge play there as he has it inside the 20 at the 19.
How many ways can I get it to my guys who can fly, who are playmakers, and let them make big plays? This is another one you've seen. Catch the football, flip it ahead really quickly, get it to a burner, going full speed across the formation. He gets the edge, makes the big play.
Noses his way forward, maybe gets one. They'll mark it at the 18. Win with the running game on 1st down, now back at it. Quarterback wants to throw on 2nd down. They get enough rush, and it pays off. The sack at the 20. They got to him in a heartbeat. Man, was he back there quickly.
And you can see the linebackers up near the line of scrimmage. Which one's coming? He comes flying through with great speed. The offense had no clue how to get.
Picked off. Takes it the other way. He's at the 40. Running inside the 20. And with the interception, he'll take it all the way back. Touchdown, Wildcats! They'll try to tack one more on their score. And it's up and good as they draw just a touch closer. They're lining up to kick it off after the pick six, and that defense will come out feeling it. From inside his own 10, let's see what he gets. Really disciplined job by the coverage unit to get down there and make the stop at the 19.
1st and 10.
The Pittsburgh offense is back on the field. That last pick six after a drive like that, David, can swing the momentum of a game.
The defense is still celebrating. I mean, such a big play. I mean, they gave up some yards but did what they're supposed to do. Now, Jesse, this offense has to put a drive together.
Yeah, they have to recapture some momentum here. What they can't do is go 3 and out and give the ball right back.
Quickly complete. And he'll be taken down, but he does have enough for the 1st down.
Caught by the receiver. Gain of 7. And a 1st down for the offense.
Here's this offense with a fresh set of downs. Trying to find his man on 1st down. Fires into traffic, picked off. He goes out of bounds, but he creates the turnover and a great opportunity for his offense. All right, guys, so here's the offense back on the field again. Looking for a man. It's Galladay. Looking for the end zone. And he's got it. Touchdown, Kansas State.
That is exactly what most offenses will do. Big momentum play. My defense creates a turnover. I'm being aggressive. I'm going for the big score, the big play down the field. They get rewarded. They get the big passing touchdown.
After that latest answer tied things up, just about set to kick it away again. Oh, right through his fingers, he muffed it. On the run from inside his own 5. And good work by the coverage team to get the return man down on the ground.
1st and 10.
The Pitt offense back on the field and ready to roll. Mistakes are going to happen, as they did on that last drive. Now, how will they respond, Jesse?
And this is the kind of guy who's going to take full accountability. That was my bad. That's on me. I'm about to lead this offense now down the field to score some points.
Dang, I wish I would have played with you. I didn't play with many quarterbacks that were just like, yeah, my bad. Hey, guys, I got this. Sorry about that. It was more, should have ran a better route.
Listen to this crowd just shaking the girders of this place, trying to help their defense. Coming after it. One-step wrap, two-step squeeze. This junior knows how to get him on the ground. Let's see what they do on third down.
That's the end of the third quarter. And after 3, we are all tied up.
Picking up the first down will be nice here, but also important, get some cushion for the punt team. On third and long, trying to have a big completion here. He's got his man, and he's brought down after a nice gain.
There's a reason third down is called the money down. What a great find by the quarterback. Great job finding his receiver. At the end of the game, you look at third down percentages, it tells a huge story, and it goes a long way in deciding who wins a football game.
Able to pick up a couple before he's dragged down at the 19.
The big defensive tackles in the middle, they're not always the best pass rushers, but they are strong, and I say country strong. They put their hands on you, you feel it. They lock people out on the line of scrimmage. They create separation. They wrap running backs up, and usually they don't get out of the midst of those big boys.
Stopped at the 25 after a 5-yard gain.
He's brought down at the 25-yard line.
So they're facing third and short from the 25. They'll try to get it through the air. They'll throw it to the back on the screen. At the 35, he's got room. They make the stop, but not before the screen has hit him for a first down and much more. Really good execution by this offense. Pittsburgh has a really nice drive going. The give to the back. Oh, what a move! And they'll finally get him down after a terrific pickup.
You ain't getting by all these guys right up the middle unless your offensive line and your tight ends and everybody is putting in the work up front, committing to blocking. The running back does a great job finding the hole, exploding through.
And the heat gets home. They knock him down back at the 45. Ooh, that linebacker sacked that quarterback, and he was on him quicker than a hiccup.
Yeah, and you see quarterbacks back there pointing and telling the offensive line who to block, and, well, it didn't work, okay? He was not prepared for that. He comes scot-free, and the quarterback pays the consequences for that one.
Now facing some adversity on this drive after the loss of 4. It's 2nd and 14. They've got the screen set up. Got room at the 35. And they'll stop him just short of the first down, just inches away from moving the sticks.
Yeah, and he's been throwing it all over the yard, and he's now over 300 yards on the day, so been a successful day. Now, 300 yards, I don't know, Palmer, 300 nowadays, that's like what back in the day for you?
That would have been 500. I would have won the Heisman, maybe. It's a big deal today in college football, no doubt. Now, listen. He's in a rhythm right now. He's in a groove. We've seen good decision-making. He's been playing on time, and he's been deadly accurate throwing it. And guess what? This game is far from over.
Maybe this will breathe a little life into this offense, which has been flatlined in the second half. Here's 1st and 10. Quarterback flips it ahead quickly to the receiver. Able to scrounge 3 yards out of that one somehow. It's 2nd and 7. This defense just can't get off the field. The offense unstoppable. Pulls and fires complete. He almost picked up the first down on that one, but he'll be just a little bit short.
I'll say this, man. In college football, you see a lot of bad tackling. You didn't see it right there. That was an awesome job. First off, being there at the point of attack. Once the tight end made the catch, there was no doubt he was going down. Great job form tackle.
The offense wastes no time getting the timeout call.
Timeout, Pittsburgh.
Here we go. 3rd down and 1. Let's see what you're made of. He'll be stopped short, picks up 1, but they're facing 4th and 1.
All right, 4th and short. You need a field goal to take the lead. There's less than a minute left right now. I don't think you get aggressive here on 4th down. Just kick the field goal to give yourself a chance to win this game.
A tie game here late, and they do not want to give up this football. They'll go for it on 4th down. He'll try to throw and pick up the first down. Finds his man, and they convert.
That's a great example of the receiver knowing exactly where the first down marker is. He got the depth he needed to get, so once he was able to make the catch, he already knew he had it, and now a fresh set of downs.
The clock has stopped as we have reached the 2-minute warning here in the ball game. And now this offense on 1st and goal has a chance to break the tie late. They'll try to get it in with the run. He works his way all the way down to the 3, and the defense is reeling.
It's all tied up. This offensive line, they want the pressure. They want everything to go through them here. They're saying, look, let's just run the ball. Let's get this thing down closer and closer to the goal line. Let's bleed some clock and put ourselves into position to win.
Timeout on the field, and we've got a dandy all tied up late in the 4th. Now 2nd and goal, and right in the teeth of this noise. Off the bootleg, looking to fire. Buys a little time. And he's left with no option but to throw it away.
Well, it's the 4th quarter, and you got to be so careful as a quarterback when you're throwing it over the middle of the field right now because these windows are really small. He's very lucky that last one was not picked off.
They believe in their running game on 3rd and goal here. Strong, firm tackle. Quick timeout by the defense there, trying to make sure everyone has the same call.
And these are the big decisions you have to make in a football game. How confident are you in your defense? That's all this decision comes down to. If I kick a field goal and I trust my defense, that's how this game could end. Or do I want to roll the dice because I don't believe in my defense?
They'll keep the kicker on the sideline, and the offense will try to break the tie with a 4th quarter touchdown on 4th down. Lets it fly. And it's intercepted. Oh, what a big play in a tie game.
What an incredible play by the defense. 4th quarter, tie football game, and they come away with a massive interception. I'll tell you what, if this team ends up winning this football game, that is going to be the play they look back to and point at as the play that did it. Wow.
K-State has the ball back, and the Power Cat offense returns to the field. Give to the back. Running with power. How about the patience from this sophomore to hunt that green grass?
And a great job by the offensive line. If you're going to run the ball right up the middle, you better control the line of scrimmage. You can see the center, the guard, the tackles doing a good job getting on their guys just enough where this running back can get into space and make the big game.
They'll ride the hot hand. Turns it on in midfield. And they don't drag him down until he gets all the way to the 46-yard line. What perfect execution on that big run. Everything perfectly blocked, and this guy doesn't need a lot of room.
I love how this offensive line communicates and works up front. You see guys winning their one-on-one battles. There's double teams happening. Guys are getting into the second level and creating big lanes for this running back.
Makes the grab. It's Harris. Finds a crease at the 20. And he was loose and in the open field and on his way. A tremendous pickup on that one.
And as a defense, how scary is it having to defend this guy? He's one of the fastest players in America, and you saw it on that last play. It's not necessarily throwing him the ball over your head. They just get it to him quickly. The hard part now is running and tackling that guy. Not easy to do.
From the shotgun, the inside give. And look, this guy has some serious moves, and he tried all of them and still didn't get loose. On second down, coming up on this red zone opportunity. He leaves it with his back. He bullies his way all the way down to the 5-yard line.
And these defensive tackles just eat people. They swallow human beings when you get near them. They're so big, so strong. When those guys, those running backs come in, they just need a mid. They put one mid on a running back, and he usually falls to the ground just because of their sheer mass and strength.
They get the timeout, and the clock reads 3 seconds.
Timeout, Kansas State.
They'll try to salvage a field goal on this drive. It'll all be decided right here, win or lose on this kick. They get the timeout, and the clock reads 3 seconds. And they decide to trot out the kicker. We're getting deep in the game, and this is for the lead. It's good, and that was dead solid perfect. They have grabbed the lead in the waning seconds of the game, and they are so close to victory. That one bounds through the end zone, and it'll be a touchback. Got to get everybody lined up quickly. Time winding away. They've got to push the ball down the field. Going up top on first down. Quarterback now on the run, still looking. Feeling the heat as he lets it go. And it's incomplete, but the penalty flag has fallen in the holding zone. Let's see what the call is. They'll decline that penalty, obviously very happy with the results of the play. That was fun, and it was big time, and it is a confidence builder to come through waning moments and win a game like that.
Confidence builder, dream maker, right? Those are the things you dreamed about in the backyard, drawing it up with the clock running down. You're going to make the play to win. Your offense is going to come through in the clutch. Jesse, that's exactly what they did.
No doubt about it, David. That's a tough situation to be in. There's so much pressure on these individual players to have to step up and have to make that big play. But you could see the belief they had in each other, the respect they have for each other, and now moving forward, this is a huge confidence builder for this team.
That's going to do it for us from here. For Jesse Palmer, David Pollack, I'm Reese Davis, and this has been another presentation of EA Sports College Football. Welcome, everyone, to College Park, Maryland, and the house has been built by guys from Boomer to Diggs. Home to the Maryland Terrapins, where the fans are eager to welcome visitors into the shell. Arizona will kick off to get things underway. He'll bring it out from inside his own 10. He was looking for some running room, but not much to be found as he stopped at the 18. So the Maryland Terrapins offense takes the field. And here he comes, the guy who pulls all the strings in this attack.
I think what makes him so unique, he has such a good understanding of this offense, always seems to know what the answer is to the test.
Always in control. The receivers know they're going to get the football. Everybody believes in this dude.
They'll snap this one from the 32. It's first down. Right back to the well. And he's brought down after a nice gain.
This running back loves running into the teeth of the defense. In between the tackles, he keeps a low pad level, and he's got some speed.
They'll throw it on first down. It's complete to the right. Finally run out of bounds, but he has this offense rolling with a first down.
That's what's so scary about this offense. They've got guys in the perimeter that can change the game in one single play, and you saw it right there. Too much speed on the perimeter to create that explosive play.
And the defense finally makes the stop after the sweet run and good gain.
You've got to be loving what you're seeing from your offense here on the opening drive of this game. They're in a really nice rhythm. They've got real good balance going on right now, and they've got the defense on their heels.
From the gun, the running back has it. He'll be down at the 4-yard line after that terrific run.
I'm amazed by this offense. This is how you set the tone for a game. Running, throwing on the opening drive, driving it right down the field. You just run to set yourself up now in first and goal. They are feeling it.
Get it out on the screen. And he'll haul it in and take it to the end zone. Touchdown, Maryland!
A big question mark for this offense coming into the year, guys. Who could score touchdowns? Who are going to be their biggest playmakers on offense? This guy scored in the first game. He's off to a great start in this one with that touchdown. This guy looks like the real deal.
Almost ready to kick it away after scoring the touchdown. He'll start the return inside his 5. Didn't find any crease in that kickoff coverage, and he'll be stopped at the 17. So the Arizona Wildcats offense taking the field. First chance we have to see them today. Both of these defenses, David, anchored by star middle backers.
I mean, they're just stars right in the middle of the defense. You'll see them go sideline to sideline, and they will make plays all over the field.
Yeah, these guys are the heart and souls of their defense. They're the leaders. Everybody looks up to them. They're constantly making plays.
Just a quick rhythm throw there and really good use of the tight end.
Yeah, good use of the big fella. I mean, go through your progressions real quick. You can't find anything. Get the easy gain. Don't take a shot down the field all the time. Take those shots later. And take those easy, wide-open opportunities to get some positive changes.
Man, that D tackle is a freak athlete. Did you see him come out of his stance and beat the offensive lineman, getting to the running back? Cat-like quickness.
Looking to pass. It's Price. Fires a bullet. Now it's picked off. He'll try to take it back. He is finally out of bounds, but he was smelling that end zone on that return.
And that's just excellent cover. Man, cover one, nowhere to throw the football. Look at everybody playing man across the board. You still got the safety in the middle of the field. Nobody open, and if I'm the QB, man, I don't need to force it. I don't.
And the quarterback was trying to extend the play, and the defense brought it to a close.
And that is an all-too-familiar sight. Listen, this team won last week, but they gave up 4 sacks. They got to protect this young man early in this game. Don't set the tone, and let's not go back to last week.
And the defense makes a big hit and knocks him down. Boy, they'd love to pick up this conversion and go to work with a first and goal. They'll throw on 3rd and short. They get enough rush, and it pays off. The sack at the 20. Now on 4th down, they'll settle for a field goal try. He'll line it up from the right side. A 37-yarder coming up. Splits the uprights. Good. And that will extend their lead even further. Eighth play of the drive coming. It'll be a 3rd and 6. From the gun, wants to pass. They're bringing heat. And the defense makes a play. They get the quarterback down at the 26. We got a timeout here late in the first half, and they'll try to get more points on the board before the break. It's wise not to be too greedy, and they'll go ahead and send out the field goal unit. It is good. And now the lead is extended a little further. And let's check in with Kevin Connors in the studio. Kevin?
A lot of eyeballs on your game.
They'll snap it from the 48 on 3rd and short. They'll try to run for it. Nice job to pick up the first. They're looking at a 3rd down and short from the 33. They'll try to pick up the first through the air. Got out of trouble and throws. Makes his connection. Ball's at the 26. It's 3rd and short, and they'd love to pick up the first down and avoid settling for the field goal. Pass rush coming after the quarterback.
And a great job by the defense, dropping in zone coverage, all eyes on the quarterback, taking away the options, and then finally the pass rush gets home, gets him on the ground.
And the kicker delivers the 3 ball to finish off the drive. And they'll push that lead out a little further. And now on 2nd down for this offense. He's looking to throw. And the pass falls incomplete. That's how we'll wrap up the 3rd quarter of play. But now, time for the 4th quarter. We've come to the end of the quarter, and Maryland has the lead. They've done the work to build a nice cushion. Now to bring it home as we check out the stats after 3 quarters. Now facing a 3rd down as they line up after the break. From the gun, wants to pass. Zings it complete to the right. Touchdown, Terrapins! And they take it in for 6 more points.
And that's 3 touchdowns in 2 games. Just continuing to find the end zone, continuing to make plays.
Coach has no choice here. The offense has to stay on the field, down multiple possessions this late. 4th down attempt coming. They'll try it on the ground. Tackled, but he has a 1st down. Down by multiple possessions. You can't come up empty on this drive. They'll go for it on 4th down. Complete and looking for enough for the 1st down. Third down conversions are a huge stat, and this one would be a doozy if they can pull it off. The play action fake. Gets rid of it. Excellent coverage and good use.
I'll tell you what, I don't know if the offense was expecting man coverage that time. 3rd and long in field goal range, you're expecting it to be zone. Instead, they lock them up man-to-man, everybody on an island, and everybody won. They get the incompletion now setting up for it.
Oh, the attempt is no good. They still have work to do, trailing by 2 possessions here in the 4th. They'll line up for the onside kick. Timeout called by the defense. It's their first of the half as they'll go to the sideline and try to make adjustments. If they're going to pull off this big rally, they'll need to get this one back. They line up for the onside kick. Just over 20 seconds to play. They must recover this onside kick to have a chance. Looks as if the hands team will be able to recover the ball. Now this team has consecutive wins, and when you start expecting to find ways to win games and you expect that you will perform well enough to do so, that's really hard to stop.
It's a mindset, Reese. This